It's beady. So, as you guys know, I've been practicing length work with this new style for the past 6 months, 5 to 6 months, and I put on about half an inch to 6/10 of an inch in that time. For someone at my experience level, that's kind of unprecedented. Granted, it was a lot of gain back from COVID, but even still, I've done half the work that I normally do and still gained at about, or if not more than, what I gained beforehand. So I would say that's a pretty good indicator of success. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking me how to translate these scientific findings into girth. And I'm going to try that. But, disclaimer, I have not really thought of that, so forgive me if this video is sloppy. Speaking of video, I hired a moderator, Red. He's basically my day one, slid into my DMs like 3 or 4 years ago, and he's been along this wild ride ever since. So he's going to handle my video editing, and trust me, this video is going to be a doozy to edit. So, wish him luck. But anyway, before I really get into it, I need to pay the bills. So, first, peak male physique for penis enlargement equipment. That is pretty high value compared to our competitors. Second, Leviathan Sups. We finally got our test booster on leviathansups.com. Virility will be in stock soon. Pre-orders are open. And then we have Vigor available on Amazon and leviathansups.com. Finally, Patreon for general support and text coaching, which I'm very behind on, and I apologize. Same for my consults. Anyway, let's get into it. So let's go over what we already know about the penis. It is essentially a pressure vessel, meaning that the tunica albuginea is designed to hold the pressure, while the corpus cavernosum is designed to exert pressure onto the tunica albuginea, and that's what makes your erections firm and floppy when flaccid, because there's no blood. The blood is basically pumping air into a tire. The more blood we can pump into the tire, the blood tire, the bigger the tire can be and harder the tire can be. So, the tunica albuginea is predominantly collagen, while the corpus cavernosum is endothelial, sinusoidal endothelial to be specific. So it's basically a gigantic blood sponge. Those two things have different needs for gaining. For example, endothelial tissue is much better with hypoxia as its main driver for growth, but collagenous tissues like the tunica albuginea are avascular to begin with, so they will see minimal input or stimulus from hypoxia. So that's not going to change the shape of the tunica, therefore we won't see significant changes in size, unless you're a rare individual that can grow from minor overexpansion, which 95% of you are not. Then with collagen, it responds well to strain, and that's why overexpansion is one of the key things for girth. However, since we're dealing with something that is as strong as a child's bike tire, the tunica albuginea, it can handle a lot of pressure before it starts to give. So if we're being smart about it, we need to manipulate the tunica so it's weaker to start before we start trying to pump it up with pressure. So that's where tunica malleability and tunica release, and probably actually a bit of elongation, comes into play. So what I am thinking right now is for the first 10 to 20 minutes of our girth routines, we want to spend manipulating the tunica with tunica release, potentially tunica malleability, and then we actually want a little bit of elongation to get these fibrils to fatigue to begin with. So we are going to have a fatigue stage, much like in the interval length protocol. Then for girth, or really we're going to have 3 phases. So the second phase is going to be expansion, and that's where we take the pre-fatigue tissues and blow them up. And that distal force is going to do 2 things. We are going to stretch the collagen farther than it did before, hopefully getting more fatigue in the process, but in the direction that we want, outwards instead of upwards or elongated. Then that added distal pressure to the endothelial tissue is going to cause that endothelial tissue to be in higher capacity. So we will see some angiogenesis, but a lot of it's just going to be, I'm not exactly sure the term, but it's going to be able to hold more blood over time. So we're able to see the changes in collagenous tissue while we're still getting the changes in blood holding tissue. However, at a certain point, it would seem likely that we need some blood flow restriction therapy. Now, the old way to do blood flow restriction clamping is with hard clamps. Certain subreddits still believe that's the only way to gain. They are wrong, and if anything, they are highly inefficient. Anyway, what I'm thinking is that we just mimic what physiotherapists do right now, and that is 2 10-minute sessions a week of blood flow restriction therapy. I personally use a bunch of small cock rings because they are not as harsh as a mechanical device. They will fit the penis better, and in my opinion, they're just more comfortable, and they allow for less aggressive stenting, less pressure on the nerve. So, just to make it simple, this is what I would do if I was going to train Girth right now. First, I would do tunica scraping 50 each side, but that's more specific to my needs. I am pretty, let's just say, gritty on the tunica. So what I've noticed is that with gua sha scraping on my penis, my tunica has gotten much more smooth over the time, and that is either breaking up calcium buildup or that is pushing collagen fibrils more in line with the others, so that way it sits smoother, therefore it looks bigger and more uniform when I get an erection, because there's just more collagen to work with. That's what I am focusing on still. And then the main drivers for most of you guys is going to be blood flow restricted massage. So with a cock ring, get semi-erect, massage up and down the shaft for 5 minutes. Once you get putty-like as in it's not giving you any resistance, then I would actually move to do some length work. I would be using the apex in this case for about 10 1-minute sets to maximize the fatigue. There's an argument to be made that you want to do massage under tension with it. So the same idea, blood flow restriction massage, but while in the apex, or you could even try bundled stretches. That's probably what I would do. So I would do 10 fatigue sets with the apex of 1 minute, about 5 to 7 pounds. And then I would do bundle stretches the opposite way every minute. So I'd twist to the left, twist to the right, and that end up being 5 sets during that time. Then after I am fully fatigued, I wouldn't be fully fatigued at that point, but once I am pre-fatigued, that's when I'm going to do 10 2-minute reps of interval pumping. And the target range is going to be about 6 to 8% expansion. So I'm about 6 inches of girth right now. The added 2% from the length recommendation is just because you are going to get edema, and we need to account for that. So 6 times 1.06. So I need to be between 6 1/3 and 6 1/2 bigger after my length sessions to guarantee that I've got enough expansion and fatigue of the tunica albuginea along the rings to elicit changes in the collagen. Then I would say you want to do blood flow restriction therapy. So we're calling that soft clamping here. Soft clamping every other session. So if we do this every other day, you're going to be doing clamping 2 times a week. Meanwhile, you're going to be doing the pumping and the pre-fatigue stuff 4 times. The indicators that you're looking for that this is working is, first, you're coming out of the pump like almost red hot because we are limiting edema, pulling in fresh blood constantly to get this expansion instead of letting it stagnate. So your penis should be red hot. Then during clamping, you want to start erect, obviously, but instead of trying to keep that erection, it's going to get spongier and spongier over time because we're not trying to stimulate anything. We are just literally cutting off blood flow at max expansion. So that way we get the blood flow restriction therapy benefits without putting any strain on the pelvic floor. Huge benefit. Now, after your routine, I would say you want to keep this expansion will stick around from anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. Some of you lucky guys, it's going to be 8 to 12. And in my experience with the length work, and I'm assuming girth work is going to be the same way, it's just frequent erections all the time because your penis is signaled to heal dramatically. And at this point, it's just going to be trying to flood as many nutrients as it can into the penis, especially at night when you actually do most of your recovery. So if you don't have a whole bunch of nocturnal erections, you're probably overworking. Granted, there's a few other things that could be causing that issue. Finasteride can hurt nocturnal erections. Frequent masturbation certainly can. And same with low testosterone. And same with chronic stress. It's more of a guideline than an actual set thing. And then obviously, another way you can tell that you're on the right path is that you feel thicker, you feel denser, you're getting more vascular, and your partner starts to notice. Like, I think just the changes in the flexibility of the tunica are going to be almost immediate in the first week. And once you get super aroused with your partner, you might be significantly thicker. At least that's how it's been in my experience. I am N of 1, and let's just say I am relatively lucky when it comes to this stuff. And that's why I kept doing it for about 10 years. So, your mileage may vary. This is very preliminary, so this may change once I start girth work. I'm kicking around starting it now, actually, because I have a very large discrepancy between my stretch flaccid length and my erect length. So, like, my stretch flaccid length is just under 9, but I'm about 8.5 bone pressed. So, that's right in the range where I said you want to start clamping probably a couple months ago. So, it might be in my benefit to do that. But, man, I was gaining length so easily, I'm like, should I stop and switch? So, it's an internal battle that I need to figure out. Yeah, there's that. If I don't get to it... So if I don't start doing girth work immediately, I'll definitely start it by September. So for you guys that are waiting for it, I'm sorry. But I'm very close to 9, and that's kind of my priority right now. But it might make more sense to switch to girth anyway to get to 9. Anyway, I hope this gives you guys some guidance while you wait for definitive answers from me. I have a lot of stuff in the works. Some stuff that will make this much easier for you guys in the long run instead of looking through the Reddit. So just stay tuned. Give me 2 or 3 months and you'll have an update from me on that stuff too. Patreon for general support, Peak Male Physique for penis enlargement equipment, Leviathan Sups for all this beautiful supplements beside me. Say thanks to Red because he has to deal with this shit show of an edit, and I will see you guys soon.